When I finally opened up to my family and said I wasn't planning to have children, my sister looked me in the eye and said, "You're selfish, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." You know that gut-wrenching feeling when a family member, someone you're supposed to trust, completely shatters your world with betrayal and an act of pure, unadulterated selfishness? Well, get ready because my story is about how my own sister, driven by her own twisted agenda, pushed me to my absolute breaking point, culminating in a shocking act of vandalism and a moment of comeuppance I never saw coming. This isn't just about family drama. It's about drawing a line in the sand and fighting for your right to choose your own life. Okay, so I'm a 31-year-old graphic designer, and here's the thing about me. I've always known I didn't want kids. And honestly, it's not some deep, dark trauma from my past or anything dramatic. It's just, I've never felt that maternal instinct everyone talks about. Seriously, when I see babies, I don't get the urge to hold them. When I hear kids laughing, I don't feel a longing for my own. I feel absolutely nothing, and for me that's perfectly fine. My husband Alex feels the exact same way. We've been married for 5 years, and our shared vision of a child-free life was actually one of the things that brought us together. We love our freedom, traveling, sleeping in on weekends, having disposable income, and just being able to make spontaneous decisions. We're not anti-child or anything, we just don't want any of our own. For the first few years of our marriage, my family was pretty chill about it. My parents, Robert and Linda, would occasionally drop a comment about, "When are you giving us grandchildren?" But nothing too intense. My older sister, Victoria, who's 3 years older than me, was busy with her own life. She'd gotten married 2 years before me, and was focused on her career as a physical therapist. But then, about 2 years ago, everything shifted. Victoria started having fertility problems. She and her husband, Jack, had been trying to conceive for over a year with no luck. They went through all the tests, tried different treatments, and spent thousands of dollars on fertility specialists. Victoria became utterly obsessed with getting pregnant. Every single conversation revolved around ovulation cycles, hormone levels, and every little pregnancy symptom she thought she might be experiencing. And that's when the pressure on Alex and me to have kids intensified dramatically. Victoria would make these passive-aggressive comments like, "At least one of us needs to give mom and dad grandchildren, and you're so lucky you can get pregnant easily. You shouldn't waste that gift." That assumption, that I could get pregnant easily, was so incredibly frustrating because she had no idea if that was even true. Alex and I have always been super careful with birth control precisely because we don't want children. Last Christmas, things came to a head. We were all at my parents' house for dinner when Victoria made her big announcement. "Jack and I have some news," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "We're finally pregnant." Everyone erupted. Mom started crying, Dad popped open a bottle of champagne, and Victoria was just glowing. I was genuinely happy for her. I knew how much she wanted this. But then, as the excitement died down, Victoria turned to me. "Now it's your turn, Sam," she said with a big smile. "You can't let your nephew or niece be an only cousin. When are you and Alex going to start trying?" I felt all eyes on me. This wasn't the first time this topic had come up, but something about that moment, Victoria's happiness, my parents' expectant faces, the champagne making everyone more emotional than usual, made me realize I couldn't keep deflecting. "Actually," I said carefully, "Alex and I have decided we don't want children." The room went silent. Mom's smile faltered. Dad slowly lowered his champagne glass. And Victoria just stared at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. "What do you mean you don't want children?" Victoria demanded. "That's not a decision you make. Everyone wants children eventually." "Not everyone," I replied. "We've talked about it extensively, and we're both certain this is what we want. You're just scared." Mom jumped in. "Every woman feels nervous about having babies, but once you hold your own child, all those fears disappear." "It's not fear, Mom. We genuinely don't want to be parents." Dad cleared his throat. "Maybe you should wait until Victoria's baby is born. Seeing a baby in the family might change your mind." "Our minds are made up," Alex said, speaking for the first time. "We're happy with our decision." Victoria's face was getting red. "This is ridiculous. You're being selfish. Children are a blessing, and you're just too self-centered to see it." "Wanting different things doesn't make us selfish," I said. "Yes, it does. You're thinking only about yourselves, your freedom, your money, your convenience. You're not thinking about mom and dad who deserve to have grandchildren from both their daughters. You're not thinking about your future when you'll be old and alone with no one to take care of you." The conversation just got more heated from there. Victoria accused us of being immature and irresponsible. Mom started crying about her dream of multiple grandchildren. Dad kept insisting we'd change our minds once we grew up a little more. Alex and I left early that night, And I honestly thought maybe things would calm down once the initial shock wore off. I was so wrong. Over the next few months, Victoria launched what I can only describe as a full-blown campaign to change our minds. She'd send me articles about women who regretted not having children. She tagged me in Facebook posts about the biological clock and how women who wait too long miss their chance. She'd text me photos of cute babies with messages like, "How can you not want this?" When Victoria's son Thomas was born 6 months ago, the pressure intensified even more. She would constantly talk about how being an aunt would awaken my maternal instincts. She'd show up at our house unannounced with the baby, insisting that if I just held him, I'd realize what I was missing. Look, I love my nephew. He's a sweet baby, and I enjoy spending time with him in small doses. But holding him doesn't make me want my own child any more than petting a dog makes me want to become a veterinarian. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago during Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Victoria had been going on and on about Thomas's development milestones when she suddenly turned to me. "I've been thinking," she said, "and I figured out what your problem is." "I don't have a problem, Victoria." "Yes, you do. You're being selfish and you will regret it. But more than that, you're destroying our family legacy." "What family legacy?" "The Thompson family name. Our children. Thomas will be the only grandchild, the only one to carry on our family traditions. You're basically ending our bloodline because you're too selfish to sacrifice your precious freedom." I felt my temper rising. Our family isn't ending because I don't want children. Thomas exists. The family continues through him. But it should continue through both of us. That's what families do. They grow and expand. You're breaking a chain that's existed for generations. Victoria, you need to stop this. My reproductive choices are not your business. They are my business when they affect our whole family. You're proving you're a heartless person who hates children. I don't hate children. I just don't want my own. Same thing, she snapped. If you love children, you'd want them. If you cared about family, you'd want to contribute to it, but you only care about yourself. That's when Alex stood up. "We're leaving. Victoria, you need to respect our decision, whether you agree with it or not." "I will never respect a decision that's so fundamentally wrong," Victoria shot back. We left, and I told Alex we were done with family dinners until Victoria could learn to respect our boundaries. But Victoria wasn't done with us. 2 days later, I started getting messages from extended family members. Apparently, Victoria had been calling our aunts, uncles, and cousins, telling them about our situation and asking them to help convince us to have children. My Aunt Claire called me concerned. "Honey," she said, "Victoria told me you're having some kind of crisis about starting a family. She's worried about you." I had to explain to multiple relatives that I wasn't having a crisis. I was making a conscious choice. Most of them were understanding, but some seemed to believe Victoria's version of events. Then Victoria started posting about us on social media. Her posts were vague at first, things like, "Pray for family members who are lost and making selfish decisions." And some people don't understand the true meaning of family. But they got more specific over time. She posted a long Facebook post about how some people in her life were choosing materialism over motherhood and breaking their parents' hearts with their selfishness. She shared articles about declining birth rates in women who regretted not having children, always with captions like, "So sad when people make these mistakes." The worst was when she posted a photo of Thomas with a caption, "My beautiful son who will grow up as an only cousin because some people think their convenience is more important than family. Praying for hearts to change." That post got dozens of comments from people I knew, many of them expressing sympathy for Victoria and concern about my decision. Some people I hadn't spoken to in years started messaging me to ask if everything was okay in my marriage, or if I needed to talk to someone about my feelings about children. I was humiliated. Victoria had essentially outed our private family disagreement to hundreds of people, and painted us as selfish villains in the process. When I confronted her about the social media post, she was unapologetic. "I'm just sharing my feelings about my family situation," she said. "If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should examine why. You're making our private decisions public and encouraging people to harass us about them. I'm asking for prayers and support. If people reach out to you, it's because they care. Victoria, you need to stop this immediately. I'll stop when you start acting like a real member of this family." That was 2 weeks ago. I thought the social media campaign was bad, but Victoria was just getting started. Last Monday, I walked out to my car to go to work and found "selfish" written across my windshield in what looked like permanent marker. My first thought was random vandalism, but something about it felt personal. I called Alex and he helped me clean off the marker before work. It took us an hour with special cleaners, And there are still faint traces of the letters visible if you know where to look. 2 days later it happened again. This time, selfish was written on both my windshield and Alex's. This time I knew it wasn't random. I called Victoria and confronted her directly. Did you vandalize our cars? I don't know what you're talking about. Someone has been writing selfish on our windshields twice now. Maybe it's a sign from the universe that you need to examine your choices. Victoria, if this is you, you need to stop immediately. This is harassment. I haven't done anything wrong. Maybe you're just paranoid because you know deep down that you are being selfish. She hung up on me. The third incident happened this past Friday. I worked late and didn't get home until almost 8 p.m. When I went to leave for work Saturday morning, I found not just selfish on my windshield, but also child hater keyed into the paint on my driver's side door. Keying a car is a felony. This wasn't just harassment anymore. It was criminal destruction of property. Alex and I decided to install a security camera pointed at our driveway. We also decided to start documenting everything Victoria had been doing. The social media posts, the phone calls to relatives, the repeated confrontations about our decision. We didn't have to wait long to catch her. Monday night at 2:47 a.m., our camera caught Victoria walking up our driveway with a can of spray paint. The footage clearly shows her spraying baby killer across the hood of Alex's car before walking back to her own car parked down the street. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My own sister, the mother of a 6-month-old baby, was sneaking out in the middle of the night to vandalize our property because we don't want children. Tuesday morning we took the footage to the police. The officer we spoke with, Detective Martinez, was sympathetic and professional. This appears to be a clear case of criminal mischief and harassment, he said after reviewing the footage. The fact that it's family makes it more complicated emotionally, but not legally. Do you want to press charges? Alex and I looked at each other. Part of me still couldn't believe it had come to this. But Victoria had escalated her behavior repeatedly despite our requests to stop. She'd involved our extended family, made our private decisions public, and now she was committing crimes against us. Yes, I said. We want to press charges. Victoria was arrested Wednesday morning. According to Mom, who called me crying, the police showed up at Victoria's house just as she was feeding Thomas his morning bottle. How could you do this to your own sister? Mom sobbed over the phone. She just had a baby. She's emotional and not thinking clearly. Mom, she's been harassing us for months. The social media posts, the phone calls to family, and now vandalizing our cars. This isn't about postpartum emotions. This is about her refusal to respect our boundaries. But she's your sister. Family doesn't call the police on family. Family doesn't commit crimes against family either. She was just trying to make you understand how much pain you're causing everyone with this stubborn decision of yours. I hung up on my mother. So it's been a week since Victoria was arrested, and I wanted to update everyone. First, thank you to everyone who sent supportive messages. Reading your comments really helped me feel less alone during what's been a truly difficult time. Victoria was charged with criminal mischief in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. Her lawyer got her released on her own recognizance with a condition that she has no contact with Alex or me. The no contact order hasn't stopped her from trying to get messages to us through other people though. My cousin Jennifer called me Friday to say that Victoria had asked her to tell me that she was sorry things got out of hand, but that she was only trying to help me see the truth before it's too late. Jennifer also said Victoria wanted me to know that the family is falling apart because of my stubbornness. I told Jennifer that any messages from Victoria needed to go through lawyers from now on and that I'd appreciate it if she didn't agree to be Victoria's messenger anymore. My parents have been calling constantly, alternating between begging me to drop the charges and lecturing me about destroying the family. According to them, I should be more understanding because Victoria is going through a lot with a new baby and is just emotional. I've tried to explain that having a baby doesn't excuse months of harassment and property destruction, but they don't want to hear it. She's your sister, Dad said during one particularly frustrating call. Sisters forgive each other. Sisters also respect each other's boundaries, I replied. What boundaries? The boundary where you get to make selfish decisions, and nobody's allowed to have opinions about them. I hung up on him too. The most frustrating part is that my parents keep framing this as being about my decision not to have children when it's actually about Victoria's behavior. Even if I wanted kids, her actions would still be unacceptable. Alex and I have been talking about limiting contact with my family until they can acknowledge that Victoria's behavior was wrong, regardless of how they feel about our reproductive choices. The good news is that our car insurance is covering the damage to our vehicles, and we've been told the security camera footage is strong evidence for the criminal case. Victoria's court date is set for next month. Our lawyer says that given the clear video evidence and the pattern of escalating behavior, there's a good chance she'll have to pay restitution and possibly do community service. Okay, quick update number 2. Victoria's court case was resolved last week, and honestly, the outcome was better than I expected. She ended up pleading guilty to the criminal mischief charge in exchange for the harassment charge being dropped. The judge sentenced her to 100 hours of community service, ordered her to pay $2,300 in restitution for the damage to our cars, and extended the no-contact order for 1 year. During the sentencing, Victoria's lawyer tried to argue for leniency because she's a new mother and was emotionally overwhelmed. The judge was not particularly sympathetic. The defendant engaged in a month-long campaign of harassment that culminated in criminal destruction of property, he said. Having a baby is not an excuse for criminal behavior, and the victim's reproductive choices are irrelevant to this case. Victoria started crying when the sentence was announced, and I could hear Jack trying to comfort her from the gallery. Part of me felt bad for her, but mostly I was just relieved that there would finally be consequences for her actions. After the hearing, my parents cornered Alex and me in the courthouse parking lot. "I hope you're happy," Mom said, tears streaming down her face. "Your sister has a criminal record now because you couldn't just keep your personal decisions to yourself." "She has a criminal record because she chose to commit crimes," I replied. "This whole mess could have been avoided if you just tried to understand her perspective," Dad added. "She's scared about raising a child alone in this family. She needed her sister's support, and instead you've abandoned her." "I didn't abandon her. I set boundaries that she repeatedly violated." "Boundaries?" Dad scoffed. "That's just a fancy word for selfishness." That conversation made it abundantly clear that my parents still don't understand what actually happened here. In their minds, Victoria was justified in her behavior because my child-free decision upset her, and I'm the villain for not tolerating her harassment. Alex and I have decided to go no contact with my parents for now. It's painful, but we can't have a relationship with people who think we deserve to be harassed and criminally victimized. The silver lining in all of this is that this whole situation has really strengthened my relationship with Alex and helped me realize which family members actually respect us as individuals. My Aunt Claire, who initially called when Victoria started her campaign, reached out after the court case to apologize for getting involved. "I realize now that Victoria was manipulating the situation when she called me," she said. "She made it sound like you were having some kind of breakdown, not that you'd made a thoughtful decision about your life. I'm sorry I didn't respect your choice from the beginning." Several of my cousins have also reached out privately to express support and to say they were uncomfortable with Victoria's social media posts, but didn't know how to respond. Alright, final update here. It's been 3 months since Victoria's court case, and I wanted to give one last update on how everything has played out. The no-contact order has been super effective. Victoria hasn't tried to contact us directly, and she's stopped using family members as messengers. According to my Aunt Claire, Victoria has been focusing on her baby, and has apparently stopped talking about our reproductive choices to extended family. Victoria did complete her community service requirement by volunteering at a local food bank. Ironically, my Aunt Claire volunteers there too, and told me that Victoria seemed to genuinely benefit from the experience of helping others without any personal agenda. My parents and I are still not speaking. They sent a card for my birthday last month with a note saying they miss me and hope I'll come to my senses soon. The fact that they're still framing this as me needing to come to my senses, rather than acknowledging Victoria's behavior, shows me that nothing has really changed in their perspective. Alex and I have been seeing a couples therapist, not because we're having problems, but because we wanted professional guidance on how to handle the family situation and its aftermath. Our therapist has been incredibly helpful in validating our decision-making process and giving us tools to deal with the ongoing family pressure. One thing she said that really resonated with me was, "You can't control other people's reactions to your life choices, but you can control how much access they have to you." We've also connected with a local child-free support group, which has been amazing. It's been wonderful to spend time with other couples who understand our perspective and don't see our life choices as something that needs to be defended or explained. The most unexpected positive outcome of all this drama has been how it's affected my relationship with Thomas, my nephew. Because Victoria can't use him as a prop in her campaign to change our minds anymore, our interactions with him are much more natural and enjoyable. When we do see him at extended family gatherings, the ones Victoria doesn't attend, I can just be his aunt without feeling like every interaction is being scrutinized for signs of awakening maternal instinct. It turns out I actually enjoy spending time with him when there's no agenda attached. Alex and I are doing really well. We've used some of the money we would have spent on Victoria's ongoing harassment, therapy, security cameras, and legal consultations to book a 2-week trip to Japan next spring. It's something we never could have done with children, and we're so excited to enjoy one of the many benefits of our child-free life. To anyone else dealing with family pressure about reproductive choices, please hear this. You are not required to justify your life decisions to anyone, even family members. Having children or not having children are both valid choices, and no one has the right to harass you for making a different choice than they would make. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for maintaining healthy relationships. And if someone can't respect your boundaries, they're showing you that they don't respect you as a person. Victoria could have been happy for her own growing family, while respecting our decision to remain child-free. Instead, she chose to make our private decisions about her and her feelings. That was her choice, and dealing with the consequences is her responsibility, not ours. I don't regret not having children. I don't regret setting boundaries with Victoria. And I don't regret holding her accountable for her behavior. What I do regret is that it took criminal charges for the harassment to stop, and that my parents still think Victoria was somehow justified in her actions. But I can't control their perspectives. I can only control my own choices and boundaries, and I'm confident that Alex and I made the right choices for us.